All right. Welcome to Software Engineering, everybody. So my name is Florian Echtler, and I'm teaching this course in the summer semester. And you probably noticed that we're living in really interesting times now. So everything's going to be a bit different than in previous semesters. Most of the lecture is available as a screencast. So if you already signed up on Moodle and can see this video, then you can also watch the other screencast videos on Moodle. So that I hope that should be working fine. However, the screencast also means that you basically never get to see me in person otherwise. And so for this reason, I'm uh, at least showing up once here so you actually can kind of match a face to the voice behind the slides. Um, so let's briefly look at how this course is going to be structured. So you already seen me. Here I am once more. I'm managing the lecture and the overall course. Everett and Felix are responsible for the exercises, and they will also occasionally do a screencast, and we will have Big Blue Button live meetings and so on. But all of this will also be announced in Moodle. So make sure that you get notifications from the discussion board, for example, and so you don't miss any announcements we make. So, of course, we're still in the middle of this pandemic, so nobody really knows for sure how things will look in a couple of months and how this semester will play out. So, um, what's more or less a given is that we will manage everything through Moodle. So, if you have questions, if you want to discuss anything, if you're looking for a team partner for the exercises, whatever, then please do use the discussion board on Moodle. If you're seeing this video, then you already signed up, so the URL isn't that important, actually, I think, and we won't have a password actually anymore, so you can just request to be admitted to the course, and we will unlock that usually within a few hours. Um, Apart from that, how are we going to conduct the class in general? We will have two grades. One is the exercise grade. This will count 50%, and one is the exam grade. This will count 50%. Right now, we're operating with the assumption that we will have a physical exam sometime in the second half of July or in the first weeks of August. And if this should not be possible for health reasons, whatever, then we will figure out something entirely different, of course. But for now, the assumption is that we will have a written exam after the lecture period, so late July, early August. We will have two separate grades, one for the exercises and one for the exam. And for you need to pass both. And for both to pass, you need 50% of the maximum points. Maximum points will be 50 in both cases. So you need at the very least 25 points in the exercises and 25 points in the exam to pass the course. So, but once again, if anything changes, then we'll let you know as soon as possible. But right now, our assumption is that we will have a written exam after the lecture period. All right. So, what's even more important now for any class in general is that you ask questions. So if there's anything in the videos that we didn't make clear, that I didn't make clear, that maybe I talked too quickly or whatever, then please do ask questions. Post a question in the discussion board on Moodle, or when we have a live consultation on Tuesdays. That's also in the Moodle calendar. Then please do ask a question. There's no such thing as a wrong or stupid question. Uh, we need to know if you didn't understand anything, because then we need to explain it better. So, and for this to do that, we need to know that there's something that didn't quite come across. So I know that, for example, during the screencasts, I occasionally talk quite fast and maybe glance over a few things. So just let us know if there's anything we should explain better, and we will try to do that. There's also a little bit of responsibility for yourself, which is to kind of organize yourselves regarding collaboration with other people, collaboration with other students for the exercises, for example. So there's tons of tools available for communicating remotely. There's things like Slack where you can create a new account. You can create your own rooms in Moodle, even with Big Blue Button to have video chat. Of course, you can also just use Skype if you want to, or Zoom or whatever. You can collaborate using GitHub, which we will also use for the exercises. So there's tons of options. However, you do need to use them. I already mentioned the exercises. The prerequisites for the exercises are that you have at least a basic programming skills in Java, ideally. If you're familiar with any other language, then the switch to Java shouldn't be that large. So C++, C Sharp, even old C, they're kind of similar to Java in many ways. If you know Python, then the jump may be a little bit larger, but still it should be quite doable to switch from Python to Java, for example. But you definitely need at least some basic programming skills up front. If you have none at all, then the course will be very difficult for you. This is something I want to make clear at the very beginning. We also will be using a little bit of vector math in the exercises, but that's something each and every one of you should already be familiar with. I already mentioned this. For the exercises, we can have teams of up to 2 people, and it's up to you to kind of find a team member. Just post on the discussion board or talk to your friends. And it's also not necessarily that a team needs to stay that way for the whole course. So for another exercise, you can actually switch team members. And if you really want to, you can also submit the exercises on your own. However, we do recommend that you take the opportunity to also work together with someone in the team and also kind of learn to do the remote collaboration tools that are required for something like this. One thing I want to make very clear up front is that for the exercises, we have a no tolerance plagiarism policy. That means whenever you use any external source, any other website, Stack Overflow, any book, and especially also any other students, then you need to give the source. You need to cite whatever you use as an external source. This is just good academic practice, and this also applies to the exercises. So, and we will definitely check the submissions for overlap. So if any team member does have a violation of this plagiarism policy for the first time, then we will not assign any points for that specific exercise. However, if it happens again, if we have any repeated occurrences of this, then all team members that have 2 strikes basically are excluded from the class. So you cannot take the exam and you will have to repeat the class in the next semester. I want to be very clear on this, so there's no confusion afterwards that I didn't mention this. So if there is any occurrence of plagiarism, if there aren't any sources that you did not cite, then of course you either get no points, or if it happens a second time, then you are excluded from the class, just to make absolutely sure. All right. So here's a little poll. Of course, this doesn't make a lot of sense right now here via video. For that reason, I have prepared a questionnaire in Moodle for you to fill out to look into what programming languages you're familiar with, if you already used version control, what development methods you're familiar with, and so on. So please fill out that questionnaire in Moodle soon so that we get an idea of what your background is, basically. All right, and now I have a little task for you. So right now, while this video is running, I would like to ask you to pull out a piece of paper and just for yourself to be able to estimate if this course will be doable for you. I want you to take a piece of paper and write a class that models a book with something like 4 to 5 attributes. Just 2 minutes. Nobody will ever look at this. This is just for you to get an estimate of how well you will do in this class. So I will give you 2 minutes, and I will show an example solution in 2 minutes. So right now, just for you to get a good self-assessment for this class, please take a piece of paper and write such a class. And I will be out of the frame for a moment. All right, and I'm back. 2 minutes it's done. So I hope you had a moment to try and solve this. So here's an example of how this might actually look like. So in Java, we just have a class called book. And each book has a couple of attributes that kind of describe it. So, for example, we have an author and a title. Then we might have a publisher. A book might have different editions. So it might be first, second, third, whatever edition. Usually it has also an ISBN, International Standard Book Number, which can be stored as a string because it doesn't just contain numbers, but also um, alphanumerical characters. And so this is one example of how such a simple class modeling a book might look like. All right, so this is about object-oriented programming in general. And now let's have a look at a second example. I hope you already have your piece of paper. So the second example is something called FizzBuzz. And again, I want you to just do this in a couple of minutes on your own to get an idea of how well this class is suited for you. So the task now here is write a program that prints out every number from 1 to 100. However, if the number is divisible by 3, so 3, 6, 9, and so on, then you print fizz. If it is divisible by 5, so 5, 10, 15, whatever, you print buzz. And if it's divisible by both 3 and 5, then you print fizzbuzz. So that's the whole exercise. It's a bit nonsensical, of course, but it's kind of very good to get a brief idea of how well you can deal with this sort of exercise already. And again, I want you to take 2 minutes of time and try to solve this on paper. And I'm once again out of the frame for a bit. All right, and I'm back again. So I hope you had a few minutes to solve this other assignment, this micro self-assessment assignment. So now let's look at a possible solution. So in Java, you would start with a public static void main method inside a class, of course. So that didn't fit on the slide quite, but this is kind of the standard idiom for a method that runs as soon as you start the program. Then you have a loop. So you start at 1 and you run until it's 100, not below, but below or equal 100, of course. And you iterate through the loop every time, one more. And if whatever you want to, whatever number you're checking is divisible by 3, so the if divided by 3, the remainder is 0, then you print fis. If divided by 5 and the remainder is 0, then you print bus. That means if it's actually something like 15 that's both divisible by 3 and by 5, then it will both print fis and bus as intended. And if it's neither divisible by 3 nor by 5, then you just print the number. And to finish things off, you print a line break. So empty string and println will just print a line break. And so you have a long list of numbers, and each one, according to the rules, replaced by fis or bus, if that applies. All right, yeah, so that was just for you as a self-assessment. And if you had a very hard time with these tasks now, then I can kind of predict that our software engineering course will also be very difficult for you, because we have to start somewhere. So we assume that you already know the basics of programming. If you don't, so if you found these tasks to be too difficult, then I strongly recommend that you first take the course Object-Oriented Modeling in Programming in Engineering from Professor Koch, and do software engineering next semester. So software engineering will be offered in every semester, because we already designed it as a virtual course, actually. And so otherwise, you would probably just have to put up a lot of time for this course if you don't know programming yet. And that would just like slow you down a lot. It would be a lot easier for everybody, I think, in this case, if you first start with the course from Professor Koch and then do software engineering next semester. On the other hand, if you didn't have a lot of issues with these assignments, then welcome to the course. Then, of course, software engineering is exactly the course for you for this semester. All right, so yeah, that's mostly it, I think. So looking forward to hopefully seeing you on the 12th of May in the live session then in person. And until then, please do work through the materials we have on Moodle and watch the videos. And please, once again, do ask questions whenever something is unclear. We will do our best to answer as fast as possible. All right. Thanks and bye.